if you have less opportunities and you've been in line and you've done your job and you've been a good person and you die poor with $0 in your pocket, and you see that happen to your grandfather, and you see that on your father, and now it's your time, you get tired. You say, like, it didn't work out to be a good guy and follow the rules while others was breaking it and nothing happened to them. You know what? The hell with it. I prefer to be a bad dude for 6 months and at least end up with something.
CEO and co-founder.
Joe Ansell, the founding partner of
Palantir co-founder Joe Ansell.
Got a unique opportunity to sit down with both Ryan Holiday and Eddie Margain. He's built this soccer stadium in Austin. He's an extraordinary entrepreneur from Mexico. He's an adventurer, one of the nicest, most fun guys we know here in Austin. Excited for you guys to get to know him too. Excited today to chat with Eddie Margain. Eddie, you built the soccer stadium, you run Austin Football Club here. You've been an entrepreneur for a long time, starting in Mexico as well as in Austin. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Eddie, tell us a little bit about your background. Like you built quite a few companies in Mexico. How'd you get started with that?
I mean, I always loved selling stuff. So I was selling Amway products when I was 12 in the streets. And then started selling mobile phones, then hi-fi sound systems. And then in college, I started a business to sell. Well, it was a .com, era. So we wanted to create a .com. We needed revenue. I didn't want to just fundraise and lose money. So we were in a building in Monterey. So back then there was no DSL, or it was just dial in. So we brought a fiber optic line into the building. So I started reselling the internet service to all of the other offices in the building. And then we started going with the Wi-Fi, just basically amplifying the signal on, back then, you remember the PCMCI cards that you would put on the laptop? It was Enterasys. It was the brand. We just amplify, go to put antennas on the houses, to the building, so everyone around us started getting internet. Why? Because that frequency, it's a open frequency, so you don't need a permit for that.
So it's just people started paying for internet access this way.
Yes, 24/7 before DSL and all of that.
And you scaled that up. You built much bigger businesses after that.
Then we went and manufactured mobile phones. And that was all the telco boom on the year 2000 to 2010. So we were bringing pieces from Korea, from Taiwan, from China, putting them together and then selling them. We came up with the first character phone. So we created a Hello Kitty phone.
Really, a Hello Kitty phone?
That was a cool story, because I was in Taiwan and I saw this pink plastic, the carcass of a phone that we were already selling. And like, what are you doing with this? Oh, this was a project for China Mobile that never flew. Like, can I take it? Like, yeah, of course, take it. So I was in the airport flying to LA, and I bought, like, what do I do with this pink thing? And I bought like all of the girls' magazines that I could find. Like, and so on my flight back, and I saw Jennifer Aniston with a Hello Kitty diamond necklace. It's like, if someone's spending money on diamonds on a necklace of this character, like, so I landed and I started making calls. So it's like, hey, I want your license for a phone. Like, for what? Yeah, for a mobile phone. Like, they started like, well, $3 per phone, like saying like, and $40,000, and like saying like, this kid will just go away. It's like, okay, let me write a check. It's like, no, we need an agreement. So it's like, well, let's work on it. So we developed the first character phone, and I still remember we ordered 16,500 phones.
For the first order.
First order, and said like, okay, this will last us for a year, maybe 2 years. I have kids and stuff, and like, in a week and a half, gone, only in Mexico.
Wow.
All of the phones gone. Incredible success, because there was a lot of people, like adult girls, that were just buying the phones.
So you built that, you built phone plans, you had a big business in that one.
So we started manufacturing, and then we started selling in all Latin America, and then we sold a little bit in the US. And so it was a good ride.
What are the big differences between the Mexican and American markets?
Well, I mean, access to capital is different. Over there, it's super limited. So basically, there's a segment that basically control what's going on and what can be done, and it's natural. It's country that is more in the development phase. Here in the U.S., we have way more access. We're way more collective because there's more opportunities. We collaborate more. So I'm happy for your success, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. When there's more limited opportunities, like you cannot expect that because it's just a tougher environment.
Yeah, there's that expression. Have you heard it? The knives are so sharp because the pie is so small.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's not personal.
Right.
Interesting. But you left Mexico for another reason as well. So your father-in-law was getting threatened because he was speaking out the truth about what was going on with cartels, right?
Yeah, my father-in-law is an incredible person. Like he's one of the, besides being one of the smartest guys that I know in this world, like he's a true journalist. He's a fighter. He studied here in UT, journalism, and he's a true believer. He has journalism in his veins, like it's in his blood, like that's his life.
Well, most people who study journalism nowadays don't come out and speak out against some of these extreme radicals on the left, which so he seems like he's an equal opportunist on that.
Well, he'll go against the left and the right, and whoever, like he's a messenger.
Yeah.
And all of his business and what he has done is based on the truth and journalism and what's right. Even if it hurts him or hurts the country or hurts whatever, if someone did wrong, like if I had done something wrong, like believe me, I will be in the front page. For sure. Like I'll be in front page. Like it wouldn't matter.
Well, what happened with Mexican society with this though? Because it's interesting. You actually had to leave because you were not safe. Like why did Mexico get to the point where these violent criminals are able to have so much power to scare people and to push people around?
Well, it's an evolution. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, you start losing, and rule of law is everything. You lose rule of law, and you lose.
Is this partly what inspires you? You're chairman of the Austin Crime Commission now, as one of your roles.
It's very that's very close to my heart, and I don't want to go through it again. And we sometimes give it for granted here in the U.S. that you can just dial 911 and someone will answer the call, and someone that you can trust, and then he's gonna come for help. And that's not true in many other countries. Like we're blessed to have that here, and if we don't protect it, we might lose it because it slowly starts fading and going. And before you know it, you cannot depend on that. And
it's interesting because a lot of the reasons it's fading a little bit here is based on what seem like good intentions. People want the police to reach out to the community in new ways. They want it to not scare people as much. In Mexico, it must have been a different cause, obviously, that led the police not to do that, or were there similar things?
If you have less opportunities and you've been in line and you've done your job and you've been a good person and you die poor with $0 in your pocket, and you see that happen to your grandfather, and you see that on your father, and now it's your time, you get tired. You say, like, it didn't work out to be a good guy and follow the rules while others was breaking it and nothing happened to them. You know what? Hell with it. I prefer to be a bad dude for 6 months and at least end up with something. Like again, it's not personal. It's just the system, basically rules the conduct of the individual.
This seems like it ties into the virtue stuff you think about a lot.
Yeah, no, it's, I think almost all the founders said something like, without virtue in the people, right, it's like a whale through a net, right? If there isn't this sort of, here's what I'm okay with, here's my personal standards, here's my sort of personal responsibilities, here's my internal code of conduct. In a good system, that's a problem, but in a bad system, it's chaos.
Exactly.
But Eddie's also saying that like it's harder for a society to keep this virtue long term if you keep seeing the good guys lose and then you keep seeing the bad guys win. It always feels like if society's not growing, it becomes harder to keep these virtues. Is another kind of corollary of that.
Also, I think it's society, but it's also how you conceptualize your role in that society. Are you a good person? Are you a bad person? Are we mostly good? Do we do the right thing? So I think you're right. These sort of subtle cues about whether it's law and order or our relationship to each other or our personal code, it determines whether we're going to go to the better angels of our nature or...
Do you start to make little bad choices, I guess you're saying too. So if you see cartel activity and you don't report it, or they give everyone money and you take some of the money, or whatever it is that you kind of participate a little bit, it kind of pulls you over.
Yeah, if you think you live in an honest society, you probably act more honestly than if you say a good guy, as you said, if I can't get ahead doing the right thing, that is a very bad that is a worldview, a vicious cycle that's hard to get out.
That's really interesting because it's something that really bothers me as an entrepreneur is when everyone thinks rich people must be stealing or taking things, because I think that what it does is it discourages people from being honest, hardworking entrepreneurs because for the same reason, right? This is why it's so important. The stories we tell ourselves, they really do shape the actions of others in our society.
Yeah, definitely. And does the story you tell yourself give yourself agency or not? Right? Do you believe that you are captain of your fate, that you can, affect change, that you can make things better, that you can go from where you are to where you want to be, or not? And if you don't, what options does that leave a person? Not good options.
That's what makes the United States the best country in the world. And it's basically that we have a system that incentivizes more people to do the right thing and be successful and be rewarded for it.
Yeah.
And you're obviously bullish on the U.S. You're bullish on Austin. Tell us why you chose Austin. You came here. You bought a lot of real estate downtown. You've bought some cool hotels. You're doing all sorts of things downtown. Like what made you choose to go long on Austin?
It's a great place to raise a family. It's here in Austin. I mean, you've been here. Like people don't care who you are. You can go to any restaurant. No one's gonna bother you. Yeah. No one you can go in sandals and Bermudas and or a tuxedo and people will not care.
Yeah.
And that's priceless. That's pretty cool. And people are very nice. Like the number one thing that most of the people that come and visit when they're leaving is like, what the hell with Austin? Like everybody's very nice. Like, yes, people are very nice.
It's a great culture. I hope we don't lose that. They're very tolerant of different views for the most part too. It seems like a very, very friendly crowd here.
And when do you hear people honking here? Like you can miss a light, a red light, a green light, and people will still not honk. Like
we'll try to get my California friends to not do it too much. I think it's partially because there's guns in the cars. There's a little bit of
yeah.
I'm still learning how it works, but they are very friendly. And speaking of building things here, you built the soccer stadium. You built the Austin Football Club.
Well, we have a pretty cool group. So that was an interesting story. So we're trying to do something and bring a sports team to town. And why? Because when you have professional athletes in your community, they become the professional heroes of many kids, thousands of kids. So the thesis was, if you have those professional heroes and you have 30, 40,000 kids wanting to be like them from year 10 to 20, okay, at 20, I didn't make it. I didn't become professional. It's okay. You already spent those tough 10 years staying healthy and doing the right thing. So you have a better community. Automatically, you have a better community, no matter what, because we're donating money to hospitals. And if you have healthy kids, automatically a lot of beds that would be used by kids that were not doing the right thing become available for people that really need them. So you start building that positive environment. So soccer was kind of the most logical for this community. It's the most diverse sport. In fact, MLS is the most diverse league in the world. So Anthony Precourt, my business partner there, he had the license to relocate a team to Austin. So I was like, oh man, we're in. Like, I'll help you whatever you need. I don't have to put $1 and we're still going to have a great professional sports team in our town. Like, that's what I wanted. It's like, no, well, we need money to do all of this other stuff in the stadium and that. Why don't we partner?
You had to raise like $250 million, right?
I said, like, we'll do it, but he's the face of the team. And then I needed to be able to invite some friends, local Texas friends, because we needed to anchor it to our community.
Yep.
And selfishly, I didn't want that. Anthony back then lived in San Francisco. He moved here when we opened the team, and I didn't want our first professional sports team that people would go out and say like, oh, our first professional sports team is it's owned by a guy from San Francisco and a Mexican. So I said, I don't want that. So like Matthew McConaughey, it's our partner there, and he was like,
he gets very excited at the games.
Oh my God, he's incredible. He's and super creative. So he was, so I was like, Matthew, we were vacationing with our families, and it's like, I'm gonna do this thing, like join us. This is gonna really impact the community. And he called me a week after, like, hey, I'll do it, but I want to put some of my money in.
That's
so
great.
he invested in the project, and big part of what we are today is him. And it brought everybody together. We didn't have a brand that Austin will follow. I mean, we have UT, but not everybody went to University of Texas. So this is a team that everybody follows. We try to make it a party, every game a party for not only soccer, like it's more than soccer. It's your community.
Well, the energy and pride there is amazing. Tell us a little bit. It took 6-7 years. Like, what's the hardest thing about starting a soccer club like this in Austin? Like, it seems like it'd be really tough to build something like that in Austin.
We didn't get $1 from the city. Zero.
That's rare. Usually cities help with these things.
Yeah, we got zero. We got a ground lease that we pay rent, and we did all of the rest. Wow. And so that was kind of the challenging part, because part of the model is that you need to have the stadium in a location where you have a lot of restaurants and bars and activities. So that's why usually it's in downtown or something close to downtown. We ended up doing it at the Domain, which is kind of the second downtown, and it's just a lot of activity there, because the beauty of soccer is that it's a 2-hour sport. So you know that you're going there, but the game starts at 7, you're out at 9. So you can make a reservation for dinner at the restaurant, go to the bar before or after. So that's why it's that important. So to find 20 plus acres downtown was tough. So basically we had to play with the city. We couldn't find more than 20 acres to build that stadium. And yeah, some people tell us now like, it's too small. It's only 21,000 seats. Like, you should have built it bigger. Like, man, I didn't have the money to.
You didn't know it was going to work at the level it worked.
Well, and I didn't like, even if I wanted, like, we didn't have more land. We couldn't buy more land, and we couldn't afford to build a bigger stadium. Like, and now they believe in the project because it happened and it's real and it's there. But
it's interesting too, because Austin doesn't have any sports teams, but it's so close to so many other sports teams that it was kind of this like desert, right? Because it had UT, but then Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, you have all these other teams. And I think also the lesson there is like people were writing off what you could do in Austin, and you guys have proved that there actually is a huge hometown market here. And people probably didn't see the full opportunity that you not just saw, but were able to bring into existence.
And the city has been growing.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of people that we're blessed to have here in this town, like Joe, and a lot of friends that have moved here that have been making the community better and bringing, what Elon is doing by bringing,
it's crazy.
Creating, Giga Texas here. It's just, and now we're going to have Samsung, and like it's way larger scale.
Yeah.
And with that comes more people, and yeah, it's an amenity. It's at the end of the day, it's an amenity for the city, because now you have 17 home games, so it's 17 parties during the year that people want to go enjoy, and at the end of the day, it's how do you give all of these guys a 2-hour break,
right,
from everything else?
I love it when you talk about all these things. You really are. It's like you're a natural leader, and you're saying, I'm going to be a healthy leader wherever I am in society. And we need to do this for the people, and it's good. And it's good for our community, and it's good for the kids. Like, what got you to conceptualize yourself that way? When you were first starting your very first business, I'm guessing you didn't think of yourself that way, or maybe you did. Like,
no. It's been evolving. It's an evolution. I don't know. Like 6 years ago, my wife and Lorena and I, we shifted a little bit and said, like, okay, we're good. Like, let's shift and do more of what we enjoy, more legacy stuff.
Let's be a leader. Let's go chair the crime commission. Let's help with the football club. Let's build
and
great
every
places.
project that we're doing, like, our number one question when we're going to invest or do a project is like, is this something that we're proud of going to our kids' school and talk about
love
it.
it.
So if we can go and see it in our kids' school and talk about it, then check. Then let's proceed. Let's keep going on it.
No, it's very real. I mean, you're a guy who likes to have fun too, which is great. We were talking earlier about, you take these trips with these airplanes and go explore Alaska with one person airplanes and land anywhere. It seems like you're having fun and then you're doing things you care about. How do you prioritize your time in your adventures?
Before we did the MLS project, the soccer team, Austin FC, I hadn't seen or been to an MLS game ever. Zero.
Wow.
Had never been to one. I knew what the impact was going to be for the community, so that's why we did it.
It was my first time going to one when I came to your stadium too.
It's energizing.
It's fun.
Now for me, going to a soccer game, it's stressful. Like
It's work.
I zoomed in and I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, because I'm worried about making 21,000 people happy and the other ones at home. So I'm like, please deliver. Like, please deliver for all of these guys. I start to get stressed, like kind of, I have everybody on my shoulder. Like, so when I go flying, you cannot fool around when you're flying. So you go and take off and even whatever, 20 minutes before taking off, you're zoomed in.
You're focused.
Forces you to be present, right? Because if you're not present, you
100%.
crash.
So you put a nice playlist and you go and fly. In Alaska, it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful. We give it for granted. It's the most beautiful place on earth. So we just travel and.
I want to show people a picture of these little planes. You have these giant wheels, and you land on these little towns in the middle of nowhere. And how long a landing strip do you need for this thing?
250 feet.
That's amazing, right? 200. Yeah. That's so cool.
It's these bush planes are incredible. Now they're carbon fiber and super light.
You go land near the bears and go get their salmon.
We land in a riverbed and just camp there, and so you have 50 yards away you have a bear eating salmon and you're fishing, and it's peaceful.
I'm fascinated lately with what people do to kind of recharge themselves to be able to do the rest of their lives, because you are such an important leader. I was with Elon earlier recently, and he's just like exhausted from doing all of these things at once, and he's just laughing a lot and talking about memes, and it's just clear he's just like trying to recover somehow from doing a million things at once.
We have your Churchill statue here. He actually wrote a book called Painting as a Pastime. That's about, he's introduced to painting after he has this nervous breakdown after the First World War, and he falls in love with painting. And he says the most important thing that a leader can have is a hobby. He says they must have at least one or two hobbies. He said they have to be real. They have to be like stuff that you do. So watching memes is not a good enough hobby. It has to be something, has to be like...
What if he's making memes?
Maybe. But it has to be like cycling or camping or, fishing or... maybe it's stamp collecting. Like it has to be it should be a physical thing that you do that recharges you. And it's interesting, his paintings are really bad.
I own one of them at my Montana house.
Yeah.
Some of them are okay,
but they're great because of what they allowed him to do.
It's good what they represent. Yeah.
Well, but he was great because of the painting, which makes the painting great.
Yes.
One of my mentors was Secretary Schultz, who he served in a bunch of different administrations. Passed away last year at 100. And his very first time he was secretary of something, I think it was labor, he got to beat Eisenhower, who had been retired for a decade. And Eisenhower told him that you should take at least a couple times a week to go golfing, because they're both golfers. And I guess maybe this is tied to that. And have a place to clear your head, have a place to relax. I always thought when I was younger, it's because you needed some extra time in case something got really busy, they fill it up. But it's probably something more than that.
When you think about golf for a president, it's the only place that can go outside. It's the only thing that is supposed to take a long time. It's social, it's physical, it's all of these things. I don't think it's actually that they like golf that much. It's that golf allows them to do a bunch of things that ordinarily you can't do.
Just to keep healthy.
Yeah, you want activities that get you outside, get you moving. And then, I don't know about you, but I bet ideas pop into your head when you're flying or when you're in the bush that actually make you a better business person and a better leader, better parent, whatever it is.
Yeah, and you learn a lot of things from it. I bet you that you can learn a lot of things from golf as well. Flying, it's you need to have checklists. You need procedures. You cannot try to take shortcuts.
Yes. It teaches you skills that are transferable back to what you do.
So, and going back to soccer, that's why when they've tried to start try to make it political in a way or use it as a platform. It's like kind of, no, please, like
And try to keep it out of that.
no, bring it back, leave it alone, because this is what gives people a 2-hour break from that so they can recharge following their passion. And it's a hobby for many people, so leave it alone. Like that, you cannot make it political, because then they go back to what they've been dealing with all week long.
When there's something special about all these people coming together as one, doing a thing where the normal divisions, boundaries,
Yeah, let's not divide people by politics
Yeah.
while they're being united by something else.
Exactly. And it's a 2-hour break. Everybody's enjoying. Like it's irrelevant.
Ryan, what do you do to recharge?
Yeah, so I mean, my thing is, I have two things. So one, I do some hard form of physical exercise every day, because I think so much of what we do is sedentary, right? You're sitting, you're thinking, you're on the phone. So something that challenges you physically, I think, is a good part of a hobby. And then I live on a ranch in Texas, so I'm outside getting hay for the cow. Like, I'm doing stuff that I could pay someone to do, but like the fact that it's hard, I'm bad at it, it's humble, all these different things that allows me. One, I always get ideas that I take back to what I do, but it makes me less one-sided than I might naturally be if all I did was the stuff that I was good at or got paid to do. What about you?
Well, I also do the hard workouts. I read a lot. I play games. I guess the games is probably what I do, which is kind of embarrassing because I'm like, oh, it's such a waste of time. But then maybe there's something good about it based on what we're saying here. Like, normally I feel very guilty sometimes when I'm playing my games still. I haven't got like a healthy balance. I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this, because it's like I'm trying to balance having 4 little girls and all these companies and causes. So
But do you play video games together? That's
sometimes we do. I probably should even do that more with them. That'd be pretty fun. They always ask me, Daddy, let's play the chicken horse game or whatever.
Churchill's other thing was bricklaying. He would lay bricks on his estate, and there's a wall around Chartwell where he lived that he built, and there's a dollhouse in it that he built for his. And so you realize, oh yeah, it was what are we going to do on a Saturday afternoon? We're going to go outside, I'm going to get the girls ready, and we're going to lay bricks, and then that is just so different than being the head of state, right? Or head of an organization, or running a soccer stadium, like all that stuff. You want something that forces you to be present, to be really detailed oriented, to get in that flow state. Like
our neighbor we're talking to later is a big bow hunter, and he shoots his bow all the time. Peter does, and he gave me one too. I think that's a pretty good one too, if you can get into it.
Yeah, I mean, it forces you to be present, forces you to practice, forces you to be frustrated how bad you are at it, and learn how to do it. All that stuff is healthy.
And I would think that for Churchill, like, starting a painting and finishing it is just a task. So it's good because it's a simple thing that you can get it done, and it's very emotional, and it gets something done. Like it's I checked the box.
He feels a very serious depression too that it was helping him get over, I recall.
What's the painting you have of Churchill? What is it of?
It's a field with a mountain in the background and stuff. But I think it's quite a well done landscape.
But if you think about also the darkness that he sees, not just his personal depression, but war, death, foreign intrigue, all the darkness that is his day. He has something that's the opposite, is going outside, having to look at flower. It forces him to be whimsical and light, and he thinks about colors. He would go to these art museums, and then he'd be like, I'm going to look at this painting for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to go home and try to paint it from memory. Like that. That's cool. That's so the opposite of the stresses of the job. Actually, I was just reading about this. His most valuable painting just sold for like $12 million. Actually, Angelina Jolie owned it. But the reason it's so valuable is it's the only painting that he did during World War II. After the Casablanca conference, he and FDR go to Marrakesh. He's like, we got to get in the car and we're going to drive to Marrakesh. And they drove to watch a sunset. And you think about just how dark the world was at that moment. That is what I think you need if you want to bring positivity and light through your work. You got to go find it somewhere, or you get disillusioned.
So what gives you hope for the future? Let's go back. Let's want to end on an optimistic note if you have it.
We're blessed. We're super black. We live in the best country in the world. Like I mean, if you travel and you see what's going on in other places, you become more grateful. Like we just need to stay positive and protect what we have. Like we cannot give it for granted, and we just cannot give it up, and we need to fight for it and and explain to everybody what we have and why it's worth fighting for.
You're a great American, Eddie. We're lucky to have you here in Texas.
Thank you.